are things that inspire people or share a piece of people's souls with other people. I just like stories about overcoming. So, yeah, that's what I do.
That's so beautiful. That is so beautiful. Ayana, do you want to just introduce yourself to everybody and tell them like where you're going to school and what you've been up to, please?
Hi, I'm Ayana. I'm a senior. I go to the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. I'm currently studying communications with a public relations concentration, and I'm also a double minor in journalism and sociology.
And what have you
Nice.
been doing at Zhive?
Oh yeah, I am also the engagement and research team here at Zhive.
And stepping up to to other leadership. Um, Olivia, can you introduce yourself to all the speakers so they know who you are? So then,
Uh, Hello, I'm Olivia. Um, I am not in school right now. I graduated with a degree in film and digital arts at University of New Mexico. Right now, I'm living in Albuquerque, and I am co-leading the social media team with Winter, and I'm also the lead of research and engagement team.
Winter, may you introduce yourself because you help with many things behind the scenes. Everybody knows who you are.
Yeah, I mean, I'm familiar with some of you already, but I am Winter. Like Olivia said, co-leading the social media team. I also graduated last spring with a degree in entertainment and media management. So it's kind of the crossover between like the business side and the entertainment side. So I'm familiar with a lot of like production, social media coordination, creative coordinator kind of stuff. So yeah, I've been with Zai for almost 2 years, like a year and 8 months, 9 months, something like that. So yeah, I'm here for the long haul.
For the ride, for the ride. I'm gonna give people one more minute. There's about 50 people in the waiting room. Carolyn, I feel like everybody needs to know you because of the work that you're doing, helping people get jobs just while we're in the short group. Do you mind it? Just giving everybody a little
Sure.
time.
Good
Hi,
evening.
everyone. I see some familiar faces. I'm Carolyn. I'm founder and CEO of a company called Productions.com. We are a platform that specifically focuses on enabling people to find and be found for production work. It's kind of the
Nice.
wild, wild west out there, and it just makes it easier for below the line, above the line, and even folks that are pertinent to that to find work and also be found for work. So that's what we do, and we'll hear more about it during the panel. Great to
Brilliant.
meet everybody.
Carolyn and Tamika, did you guys get to meet at the Zive launch or no?
We did. Hi,
You
Tamika. We hung
did.
out at the
Hey.
Cheesecake Factory after the lunch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. See, I have to make
So
sure
good
that
to see you
my job
again.
that everybody's like everybody's getting in rooms with each other, which is my job. Is like, did everybody thoughtfully meet? Okay. I'm gonna let start letting people in, just they will be trickling in. I will kind of do my little intro and then turn it over to Olivia and Ayana. And then again, thank you. Super gratitude to everybody. Okay, let's let a bunch of amazing people in. Here we go. Welcome, 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 everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for taking time out to come tonight. I'm so excited about tonight and in our panel and what we have to offer everybody. We're going to keep letting people in. If you don't know me, welcome. My name is Mara McCann. I am the founder of Zhive Media. We have a media lab and we have a network. So tonight is one of our Zhive network events. We will be dropping links in the chat. Our official event is about an hour. We have some amazing powerhouse producers here, but I will be hanging out after because I'd love to get to know you. If you are a new creator, emerging creator, if you are a mid-career creator, I will stay, take time, answer even more questions about Zhive, what I'm building, and the why. Before we get started, and while we let like a few more people into this room, just to give you a little bit of context of what we are at Zhive and the why that we are. Zhive is actually a real word. Some people think that we made it up. We didn't. It's a real word. In Ukrainian, it means long life. As a baby name, it means the intuition behind decision making. So we say that Zhive is when intuition meets action. But we all know there can be a really big gap between when you have an idea and are full of intuition before you can take action. And so that's why we created a network and a media lab so we can solve those problems. So I'm really about helping people find jobs, find a place, have a platform to have a voice. So as you're listening tonight and you get to meet some of our Zhive staff and obviously our panel members, if there's a place where you need community, or if you want to have a world where you have a voice, reach out. I will put the email and maybe actually Winter can put it in the chat for us, community@zhivemedia.com. But reach out. We have an active writers room, a blog room, social media, content creators. So again, this is really about giving emerging creators a voice. So a little bit just about me. I came from kind of nowhere place in the middle of Iowa. And I just knew that there was a world of entertainment. I'd always wanted to be an actress. So I moved myself to New York. And then I sort of fell into the startup world. I'm an advisor at South by Southwest. I'm also an advisor at a tech accelerator in California. But what I learned, there was a really important thing, and I hope that everybody, especially if you're in college right now, or you just graduated, or you're trying to find your space in the entertainment business, most important thing about this business, it's a business of relationships. Okay. So if you're somebody that, if you didn't get to go to the best school ever, or maybe you didn't come from, a family that was really well connected, this is part of what, for me, what makes this Zhive network special. It's a place where if you want to have a voice, if you know that you want to show up to work with people who can care about you and you can care about the work you're doing, this is a place for you. So we're going to have a lot of people here. I definitely suggest go follow their content on LinkedIn. Go stalk them, stalk us, and we're dropping our socials in the chat. But really, when you understand business of relationships, and that's the doorway to jobs, to work, as you'll hear from our panel tonight, the stories, that's what this is for. So this is so lovely. We have so many amazing people. So what we're going to do, a little bit of housekeeping. We have two Zhive staff who are going to be our moderators tonight. Winter is also here from Zhive. We have a lot of folks. So as you have questions about Zhive, you can drop in the chat, and Winter will be helping answer, because Olivia and Ayana will be moderating the panel. And we have some amazing friends and colleagues. First off, I'm going to bring up my friends and colleagues, and then Ayana and Olivia are going to take it over. So I'm so blessed. Olivia had said, hey, can we do something for Black History Month? And I said, what would you like to do? And she said, can we do a panel? And I said, yes. And then out of the kindness of all of their souls, I asked some amazing colleagues of mine who are also friends. I said, do you have an hour? Can you give an hour, please? And everybody said yes. And I felt so honored and blessed. So before I turn it over to our moderators, I'm just going to go by who I see. Carolyn, can you tell people just a little bit about you and the work that you're doing?
Sure. It's great to be here this afternoon. I'm Carolyn Pitt. I'm the founder and the CEO of a company called Productions.com, and we exist to make it easy for brands to find talent and talent to find brands, specifically in the production industry. So it makes it easier to find and be found for work, and it is free for those looking for work to create profiles and be found for work.
So great. So everybody here, definitely go check it out. Productions.com has been just amazing to help a lot of our creators find work. So such a big deal. Ms. Jessica Voss, so excited that you could be here with us. Can you tell people a little bit about your work, please?
Yes, I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you so much, Mara. This is an honor. So I am an actress, director, producer. I own a production company called Boss Pictures. We are all about cinema with purpose and bringing stories to light about overcoming. And yeah, we're on our third film. We just finished a feature film and submitting it to festivals. So really excited. And yeah, we are Boss Pictures on Instagram.
Awesome. We'll drop it in the chat for you. That's so amazing. So again, emerging creators, check it out. Like Jessica's at the end of third feature. That is no joke. To get 3 feature films done is such a beautiful thing. Miss Tamika Lamison, thank you so much for the generosity and gift of your presence. Yes.
Oh, of course. I'm happy to be here. Good to see you all. Thank you, Mara. So my name is Tamika Lamison, and I am the consummate multi-hyphenate, juggling way more than I probably should be. But I run a DE&I program for the DGA and the AICP called the Commercial Directors Diversity Program. So if there's any directors on the line, definitely check that out. We're accepting submissions until April 1st. And then I also have a nonprofit called Make a Film Foundation. Definitely check that out. It's kind of like Make-A-Wish, but we grant film wishes to children who are seriously ill and team them with people in the industry. I am a filmmaker within my own right. I have a production company called Mactub Media Entertainment. And we actually just did our first film, a film I wrote and directed and produced called Superman Doesn't Steal. And we just won the audience award at Pan Africa. Yay!
Okay, we just stop and celebrate for that. Celebration party.
So yeah, that's
there-
a little bit of about me. It's the crazy multi-hyphenate lady.
I love it.
I think that's a lot of people on the call though.
That's it. Is there some way, is there anything we can do right now to support that film in the next thing? Is there some social media handle we all need to go follow, or what do we have to do to, I don't know.
It's gonna play at the Vision Fest on April 6th if anyone wants to see it there. And I would just follow me. We don't have a separate
Okay.
social media for the film itself yet, but I guess we should be doing that. So thank you.
We'll go stalk and give everybody links and all that.
Thank you.
It's so good. It's so good. I love all of you so much. Ms. Dr. Karen Moore, may you tell everybody about your work?
Good evening, everyone. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you much for the invitation. I am the founder of the Color of Beautiful Media and Entertainment Group, and I am the Color of Beautiful global movement, where our focus is on redefining the standard of beauty for Black women and women of color who are traumatized by hurt and colorism. And so that's a lot of the space that I work in, and we do that through film and theater and coaching. So yeah, I am the Color of Beautiful. And actually, my film, Who Told You You're Black is Not Beautiful, a portion of it actually got signed into a collective for distribution. So we are really excited about that. I don't know where it's going to be yet, but we did sign a distribution deal. So I'm really excited about that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And everybody should definitely go follow Dr. Moore on LinkedIn and in Facebook, because you're doing a lot of events and in a lot of really powerful work. I've got to see some of your screenings and just been so honored to sit there and be part of that conversation. I know, so much goodness. All right, Nerissa Williams, my friend.
Hello. Hi, everybody. My name is Nerissa Williams Scott. I am the CEO of That Child Got Talent Entertainment. And no, we are not a child management agency. I'm the child. I'm my mother's child, and I've got the talent. We are a full-scale production management company. We handle films, we handle live events, we handle conferences, whatever the things that people don't want to do is all of the budgeting and the scheduling and the paperwork and the permits. And so we love doing that. And so we're here to help your production get to that level. We have 3 films in production right now, 1 in development, 2 in pre-production. And I am also an educator. I teach at Emerson College, and I teach how to produce. All I want to do ever is be a producer. The joy of my life is giving people a job. And yeah, that's pretty much who I am.
That's so beautiful. Again, everybody listening, go find Nerissa on LinkedIn and make those connections. Ms. Gordon, hello, my dear.
Hey, Mara. Thanks so much for having me. So nice to see all these pretty faces and so many of you who I already know and some new folks I'm sure I'm going to get to know. So I'm Beverly Gordon. I'm an independent producer, Sundance alum. I have a background in development, production, international TV distribution, legal and business affairs. Like many here, I've produced several shorts, features, a TV movie. I started a production services company similar to like what Nerissa was talking about, called Blended Road Entertainment, with my producing partner, Linda Jo, who's Korean American, because we just saw a gap in the marketplace, so to speak, with companies that were production services companies that weren't being used, that were women owned, minority owned, that sort of thing. So that's Blended Road Entertainment. And I have my own production company, Brown Bag Pictures, where, again, I'm developing a slate of projects that's, genre agnostic, universal stories, diverse perspectives, diverse people in front of and behind the camera, just you know, dealing with like sort of all the complexities of the human experience, love, family, friendship, personal growth, redemption, things that I feel resonate with a global audience. So, just anything that makes you feel joy and that sort of wonder that you had when you were a kid watching movies. So something that transcends place, language, time, that sort of thing that everyone can enjoy. So that's just a little bit about me, and I'm sure we'll get more deeply into it. So thank you for having me, Mara.
Oh, so nice, so nice, so nice. Olivia, can you just introduce yourself to the audience and then Ayana, and then you guys get into questions, please?
Yeah. Hello, my name is Olivia. I am the social media co-leader and engagement leader at Zhive, and I'm going to be your co-host for this Q&A.
Awesome. And Ayana?
Hi, I'm Ayana. I'm going to be your other co-host tonight. I'm a part of the engagement and research team here at Zhive.
Awesome. All right. I'm going to disappear and be in the audience, and I'm going to let you guys take over.
All right. So I think that the most obvious question to get out of the way first is the one that everybody wants to hear is how did you guys break into the industry? And Beverly, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I sort of love this question and hate this question because for me, I'll keep it as short as I can, but it was sort of a long, slow slide sort of into the industry as opposed to like breaking in or knowing from the very beginning that I wanted to produce movies. I, kind of had a roundabout path where, I kind of went to law school first, always had that childhood love of, with passion for film and television and just loved it so much and saw so much stuff. But, I have an immigrant background, and with a lot of immigrants, whether you're Black, African, West Indian, Asian, a lot of times your parents, you're on that sort of track where they're like, okay, you're getting like a graduate degree or something like that. So I felt that sort of tug. And then, didn't really think of film and television as a career, really. And it wasn't until I got to law school where I was going to be focused on entertainment and sports law, because I figured that could still be creative adjacent, but still satisfy my parents in that more traditional role that I really, with a little help from Sam Shepard and the late great Sam Shepard, and a movie that they were shooting at my law school, where he just talked about you got to do what you're passionate about. And so I kind of decided at that point, it was a light bulb moment. And I was like, okay, law is great, but I really want to do, be on the creative side of things. So graduated, went back to New York, worked in different firms, but always was taking classes in production management, script development. And so I guess if you could call it a break, was through contacts. You always have to be meeting people. From one of my in-house jobs at a company, I met somebody who connected me to a director from NYU. And so that was Mandel Holland. And so I co-produced my first feature, which was The Other Brother, with Mekhi Phifer, Tangi Miller, Regina Hall, who had a tiny little role, but she was fantastic. And so I would say that was sort of my, break into the industry. And on that film, also an NYU director in the same class was Nisha Ganatra. And so after I finished that movie with Mandel, she was like, oh, you need to come on board my film. And so that's how I ended up working with her, line producing the seminal film Chutney Popcorn, which in the Indian community was huge. It was the first movie sort of portraying East Asians, Indian in that sense, and somebody who was a lesbian lead character, that sort of thing. And, Nisha's now doing fantastic stuff all over the place. But so I would say those were my first two things. And those things sort of gave me the confidence that I could do it coming out of law school, never having produced anything before. And nobody really realized that I hadn't really produced before. And so gave me the confidence, let me know that you can do a lot on a little. Because those were definitely indie, low budget films. And so I would say that was my first intro. And then eventually after that, had a portfolio and then applied to AFI and went to film school. So, and then it was in film school where I continued to develop the skills of filmmaking. So that was sort of my entry point, you know.
Awesome. Okay. Jessica, do you want to go next?
Sure. I mean, it's pretty much like you, Beverly. Like, same story, you know. I very similarly, you know, I'm from Nigeria, like my parents are Nigerian, so for them everything's about education, you know, you gotta be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer. So I was kind of on the track to become a doctor. And then in 11th grade, they said we had to take an elective, either art or theater. And I took theater and I fell in love. And then that was it. My parents were pissed. Like they were not happy that I wanted to be an artist. But I ended up going to film school and then I graduated and thought, okay, well, at least I'll have a means to get a job. But then I started acting pretty much right off the bat when I moved to LA. And then I think it was kind of the conversations where I was realizing that there was a lack of diversity that kind of made me think, you know, I'm not seeing a lot of roles that are me. You know, I'm seeing a lot of Black women roles, but they're not necessarily my essence. And so my husband encouraged me to start writing and started writing my own stuff. And now we are producing our own films because we just wanted to get a voice to the films. And I just finished the third feature film, which is in festival season run type of a thing. So that's kind of how I broke in. And I still feel like I'm always breaking in, you know, there's always, you know, the mountain to climb with the industry. But yeah, my goal is to just keep meeting people and making relationships and making meaningful projects. So yeah, that's my story.
Awesome. Narissa, do you want to go next?
Trying to unmute myself. I actually fell into the industry. I'm a theater baby. Sorry, that's just where I started. And I really thought I could make theater happen for myself. And I don't know why I thought going to California was a good idea for theater, because I should have gone to New York. But I went to LA and I was in theater and realized, ooh, I could do TV, because theater is a lot like TV as far as the structure behind the scenes. And I got into TV and started working on a variety of TV shows. And I started learning about camera. And I was like, ooh, what do you do? And I went up to the line producer and said, you run everything. What do you do? I want your job. And he said, come here, let me show you. And I learned firsthand what it meant to be an LP and a production manager for some really great shows in Hollywood. And I didn't realize that that was the trajectory that I was supposed to be going. I thought I was going to be an actress, and that didn't happen because, quite honestly, I like to eat. And I'm a big foodie. And so I was like, oh God, I'll never be a size 0. And so I was like, I can't make it in Hollywood because that's my thing. And so, but I can do behind the scenes. And I can pretty much dabble in every department on a film set, because I was taught very early on in the career that, you know, a really good producer knows how to step in and do the work of every department, not as a, you know, an actual like moving through the moment, like, oh my God, you're going to be amazing at this job. No, it's more about, hey, let me be a set of hands. Let me help you and not stifle you. And so that's where I learned. And I've been being an independent producer ever since. I left that job working on Everybody Hates Chris and moved to Atlanta and worked on as an LP for a couple productions. And then was like, okay, what do I do? Let me go back to school and get my degree so I can teach this thing. I've been out here on these streets and I kind of know what I'm doing. So went and got my degree, and I am now stepping out in on faith, and I am making movies. That's me.
That's so cool. Okay. Tamika?
Hi. So, I mean, I feel like we all have very similar stories. I'm gonna talk a little bit about how I jumped in, but then I'm gonna specify specifically to what the transition to producing really, is, and because that's, what we're talking about. So I, much like I don't know who said it, maybe it was Jessica. I changed my major under my parents didn't know. I was supposed to be a journalism major. I changed it to theater and got when I got home and they saw they were report cards back then, so they sent them in. So I switched it to theater, and after a big argument, and so I was doing that. I was an actor in New York for a long time, pounding the pavement, and I realized that there wasn't a lot of roles that I felt were expansive enough and layered enough that reflected the experience of people, especially Black women and women of color that I, knew and loved. And I was like, we need more. And so I felt like I had to write I had to create that in order to see that. So I started writing, and then that led to directing. I went to the New York Film Academy and the AFI Directing Workshop for Women, and I started directing. But of course, I had to produce all these things as well, because you just have to. We joke that the Directing Workshop for Women should be named the producing workshop for women, because you got to produce all your stuff. So that's how I initially cut my teeth as a producer. Then, when I created Make a Film Foundation, and that's another long story about how that came about, really Make a Film Foundation is how I started to really dig in as a producer, because I was creating basically these independent Hollywood level short films, with A-list talent and A-list crew, and everyone was donating their time, but we still had to treat it like it was a regular production where people were getting paid millions or whatever, right? So so it was a really good way to cut my teeth and learn how to produce at a high level with no money to everyone. But at least they were happy because it was altruistic. So, there wasn't no money and mad about it. They were happy to be there. No money. So a rare kind of situation.
Okay, great. Dr. Karen, would you like to go next?
Yes, I really literally kind of fell into it. I'm also a theater person, and I've done theater productions. I write my own theater pieces, I would call them, because they're spoken word, music, and dance. And so I create my own theater. And when I got into the colorism space, I was asked by African American Women in Cinema, Tara from African American Women in Cinema, if I would do a panel on colorism. And she said to me, do you know a short film that we could play, or you could do one? And so, I'll take on any challenge. And what a challenge it was, I found out. But I got through it, and I learned so much by doing it. And I've had such an opportunity with the film, because the big thing for me with the film is that it's important that people have conversations, that it's not just, oh, look, yeah, we know what colorism is. So many of us have experienced it, but to be able to have conversations and curate conversations on colorism. So I kind of fell into it doing a film for a panel discussion, and it was really an amazing experience. And I did everything myself. I did the filming, the editing, all of it myself. And so it was a great experience. And now I'm looking into doing a docu-series about young women and their experience with colorism. So I found that film is such an interesting medium to work in, and I still am very much a theater girl, but I do love film, and I've had such an amazing experience doing film and working with film and meeting some amazing people and being able to have a medium for which women can tell their stories about colorism. And that for me was just really amazing, to be able to have this vehicle that people would be able to watch and hear about women and their stories of colorism.
Awesome. And Carolyn.
You know what's fascinating? There's definitely a lot of similarities in our stories, and especially when we were just getting started and Jessica and Beverly were talking, I was like, well, if I go next, it's going to sound like we all traded notes. I'm also from a West Indian family. I'm also a lawyer, and I did theater in high school. And so even when I went into law and worked in other capacities, I would work by day and sometimes by night if I was billing hours, and then I'd find time to write content and to shop content and to get involved in other creative projects. And so regardless of, working professionally in law, I even found ways to work in intellectual property and entertainment, which are the two areas that I practiced in, and eventually realized that I wanted to do more with entertainment than just represent folks. And so that's why I created the platform that I did to make it easier to find talent and to find work. But essentially very similar background. I know that time is ticking, but I do believe having a creative experience yourself and just the confidence to create your own is certainly something that we all have in common. So it's a pleasure to be here on the panel with all these dynamic women.
Awesome. Ayana, do you want to start?
Yeah, of course. So our next question goes to Beverly specifically. You worked for the international television distribution at Warner Brothers for many, many years. Question for you, what were your goals and how did you achieve those goals?
Oh, you're muted, Beverly.
Sorry, I knew I was going to do that. So just as Carolyn was just talking about, to a certain extent, I just found ways to kind of continue sustaining myself, as well as being near to sort of entertainment and filmmaking. And honestly, by that time I had graduated film school and had, some great short films, great projects, and kind of just again fell into that. I thought it was an interesting area. Warner Brothers was a great studio that I liked, and I thought I could sustain myself. Again, the question as an independent producer, sustainability and also being able to do what you love to do is always a big, or for myself was always a big balancing act. And I didn't plan on staying there as long as I did, but it was a great opportunity to learn a lot of stuff. The Warner Brothers content is incredible, from everything, features, series, animation. So being able to see how that process of selling those things around the world and the big licensing and distribution deals, and my territory was Asia Pac, so that's always a very active area. China, Korea, Japan, Australia, very active. And so that was interesting. So I don't know that I had a specific goal per se, other than the sustainability aspect, learning about the licensing and distribution aspect of things, and also getting to know people. Met some really great executives, Craig Erwich, who's now other places, and just being able to connect with these people. So that part of the goal was fulfilled in that regard. And what was the second part of your question?
I didn't say it. So, so the next one, you worked at Hallmark Mahogany franchise. And with that, how did you create cinema that kind of reflects the Black African American experience as well as the culture?
Yeah, I mean, that was a great opportunity. Once again, everybody knows this industry is about relationships. And so that was a friend of mine who introduced me to the executive who basically runs Hallmark Mahogany. And we had a great lunch. And I kind of had just gotten back from London, so I was a little jet lagged. And so I don't know that I made the best impression, but I must have, because then a couple months later, she came back and said, will you produce this mahogany project that we're working on? And so I jumped at the chance because I love what they were doing at Mahogany. Like, I'm a big sap. I loved Hallmark. I love all those kinds of movies. People don't like to admit it, but they know they watch them. And so, because everybody who I told that I was making this Hallmark movie, they were like, oh, I love it. So people are watching, okay? So I love that. And I love what they were trying to do in terms of diversity and equity in front of the camera and telling stories that were a little bit different than the usual Hallmark fare. And so I thought that was great. So the experience was wonderful, being able to work with the type of talent that we did that was diverse in front of the camera and some diversity behind the camera as well in terms of the other producers and the director. So that was great. And I'm doing another Hallmark movie, a Christmas movie that I brought into them. So that's next up. It's not, I don't think it'll be Mahogany, but it'll be good as well. But you know, it was great to be able to work with Tony Judkins and help move their slate forward in terms of what they're trying to do in terms of diversity at Hallmark. So
Awesome. So this next question is for Jessica. So Jessica, as one of the founders of Boss Pictures, what were your goals when you founded this company and how are you achieving them?
So, when I had founded Boss Pictures, I was I actually didn't know I was going to have a production company, to be honest. I I mostly just wrote projects as I saw them, just because they were something special or unique to me or an experience I had. I'm a dancer. I dance ballet, and I fell in love with ballet. So I wrote a feature about ballet. I incorporated dancing into it, and I just kind of kept doing that. And my husband is a writer, a screenwriter, so between the two of us, when we started to kind of look at the different slates we had, we were kind of shocked at how many projects we had. So we were like, I think we should start making these instead of just writing them and then stowing them on a computer, and the file taking up hard drive space. And so that's why we actually started to make films. And we wanted to give a voice to these projects. And I think it was Tamika who was saying it, that a lot of the times you go on saying, okay, I want to be an actor or I want to be a writer, but then because most people don't want to produce your feature film, you kind of have to just do it yourself. And we learned that if we wanted to put a voice to our projects, we had to do it. So my film school knowledge kind of came in handy in that sense. I didn't really use it for many years. But when we started making films, I thought, oh yeah, I did learn, I do know how to do this kind of stuff. So that was the initial goal was just so that we could start making movies. And now I realize there's a little bit more of a purpose and a calling with it. You know, you can reach people all over the world with movies. And so I started to seriously think about how to actually put things together so that we could become kind of a mini studio within ourselves and, collaborate with our friends and other professionals and make things that will actually speak to people and inspire people. And I hope I'm doing that. I actually don't know. So, I mean, I hope I am. I think that maybe with this particular film, Unnamed, that's my latest film. It's the first one I directed by myself. And I wrote it, acted in it, and produced. And this one is drawing light to the crime of trafficking. And so that was a passion of mine to raise awareness. And in that, I actually found healing for myself from past traumas. So I hope that it becomes a beacon of some sort of transformation for other people, who might have been trafficked or maybe had traumas, childhood traumas, or not feeling like they're worthy. So I hope that's what I'm doing. That's definitely the goal. I want to inspire people, entertain them, and just keep speaking powerful, meaningful things to them, even if it's comedic, which is, I think, the next film that we might, or one of the next films we might start producing, and it's in development right now. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it will
I
touch
am-
many people. Definitely.
oh, thank you. Did I answer both of the questions? I know there was a
Um,
two-part.
Yeah, there is a second part
Okay.
here. And also what types of stories do you love to tell? I know you went into it a little bit, but what types of stories do you love to tell and why?
I like telling stories about overcoming. I think that's kind of the theme when I look at all of the things I tend to write. They're always about young females who are presented with a situation that's very challenging, and they have to get out of that somehow. And I've found that that has been a very common theme in all of my films that I've written. I've written four. And even in the comedy, it's the same thing. There's a woman who's trying to overcome her circumstances. Just, like, I guess the circumstances are funny, whereas with the trafficking, it's not funny. It's definitely not. It's more yeah, it's a struggle, and so I like overcoming and showing people what's possible, and not to let their circumstances define what they can or cannot do. So I like those type of stories, and um I love Hallmark movies. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a big rom-com person. Guilty pleasure. I love rom-coms. And I love Hallmark movies. I didn't know until I started watching them, and I thought, where have these been? Like, these are my kind of movies. Like, how come I'm not auditioning for this? Like, I would love to be in a Hallmark movie. So anyway, I got you on that, Beverly. I'm a fan.
Amazing. So my next question is for Narissa. So you're the one of the CEOs for and the lead creative producer of That Child Got Talent Entertainment, and you're also a professor. So what's it like juggling these two enormous skills? And yeah, what's it like juggling those two?
I can say that they're probably both about the same. You're always dealing with children. No, I'm just joking. Those who are in the who are crew and our cast, and you're sitting here and you're juggling multiple personalities at the same exact time. And so they resonate in that position for me as being quite the same. I love working with young people. I actually get a kick out of 16 to 25-year-olds. I remember that part of my life very well. My mother was very active, and I kept saying to her, Mom, this adult thing is really hard. And she was like, yeah, it is. And so I find myself being attracted to that demographic, only to be able to help and enhance. And hopefully one day I do something that leads to them being the most amazing person that they can be on this earth. And I have found that my classroom is not in front of a bunch of students in a room, but it's on a film set, and it's here to help them to understand their transferable skills, and that they don't have to always utilize the fact that they love cooking at a restaurant. They can come and be a catering chef on a film set and get just the same amount of love and respect that they would get if they were at a restaurant. So I love combining my two passions. I think it's a beautiful endeavor, and I honestly wouldn't want it any other way.
Awesome. So Tamika, your first screenplay, Jar by the Door, was a Sundance finalist. How do you create an emotionally engaging story for the screen?
I mean, how I created it was a personal experience. So a lot of times I'm inspired by, and you hear it all the time, write about something that you know. Now, that doesn't mean you can't do research and write about something that you don't know and create a brilliant script. You absolutely can. But there's always going to be something that I feel that you are personally connected to or inspired by in that story or that work, or that it's important that you find that thing and then sort of expand organically and spiritually on that, right? So my first script was inspired by an incident that happened in New York. And my brother, I wasn't the one writing screenplays at the time. My brother was the one writing screenplays. And he was like, and I wrote sort of like, this is what I want to write about. And it was all the things that sort of really moved me or inspired me in New York, in addition to the thing that happened. My book bag was stolen. It had all these personal things in it. And so it's crazy. I felt like so violated. And so I was like, let me use this as some sort of catharsis. So I wrote down what I wanted it to be about. I told my brother, and he was like, I'm not writing that for you. That's too personal. You should write that yourself. I was like, no. I don't know how. And he was like, so I just read a bunch of screenplay books, and And I did it all wrong. Seriously, I did. I did it all wrong because I didn't know any better. But what that was great about that was because I didn't know traditional structure or how you're supposed to do it. No, I don't recommend this. I'm saying it's really good to get the background and know the structure so you can then throw it away. But I kind of was in the space of doing it in the opposite way of, well, let me just vomit it out the way that I stream of consciousness. Oh, and then go back and maybe add a little shaping and structure, but it was a little atypical, the structure, because I didn't know any better. But I'd say something that moves you, and that's really where the where you start from, in my opinion.
Awesome. And you also worked as a director on projects like College Hill. What's it like directing unscripted projects, and how might that differ from directing scripted projects?
Well, I'm gonna say, just because we've been talking about relationships and how important relationships are. So on those two projects, that you mentioned, College Hill, and then this other one I did for reality, specifically Retire Your Room, I was hired by some people who I knew and who knew me. And one of them was somebody who he called me, he'd seen my film Hope, and he said, we're looking for directors. And I said, oh, okay. But the way he pitched it to me was, you're going to be doing camera work, because it was early, like reality show, and it was like all in one. We were the camera operators, we were the directors, we were kind of the producers, we were writing, the scripts of what they were going to say. It was like we was like one-stop shopping. And I was like, well, I'm not a cameraman. And he said, nobody who I'm hiring has, when they were doing the consumer cameras, the Panavision, H, whatever, I can't even remember them now, but everyone was buying them. It was kind of really ushering in the really independent consumer. We can make movies and they can look good. And so he was like, everyone's going to be learning on the camera. And I was like, I almost talked myself out of that, I have to say, because I was really scared. So this is also another lesson, right? Like, people who know you are going to hire you and push for you and inspire you to sort of expand, because that was outside of my comfort zone. And he said, we want directors. You're a director. You can do this. Everyone's going to be learning on the camera. So I actually got a friend of mine to help give me some information, to help me work with the camera before I got there, but no one, so I was actually ahead of the game when I got there. And so, yeah, and the difference is, it's completely different. We were in the moment asking questions. What I loved about it was a combination of journalism, producing, I sort of, I got to sort of follow the story. I was using the camera. So I was getting to learn all these incredible skills that were so helpful for me in everything that I did as a director, as a producer, with Make a Film Foundation as well, because we are teaching those kids how to use cameras, and we were using little consumer cameras and all that as well. So, and we do documentaries. So it was just incredibly helpful. I will always, my friend, Christopher Scott Chereau, who did a movie, oh, I can't remember the name of his, it'll come to me, but he was a Sundance winning director, and he's a producer, and he was the one who believed in me. So find someone, when people believe in you, just like, don't talk yourself out of a job, and so expand, step out of your comfort zone, and do that. But reality show is very different. Obviously, you have to cast real actors, and you have to write scripts, and the producing is on a whole nother level. I would think. I think some of these other ladies can speak to that as well, that documentary and reality is just completely different, in my opinion. So there you go. I hope I answered your question. I know I went on a tangent, so forgive me for that, but
No, you definitely did.
that's the
You
Lamson
definitely
way.
did.
All right, everything you guys are saying is phenomenal. I want to add, my next one is a two-parter for Dr. Karen. The first question is, you're the leader of the Color of Beautiful Media and Entertainment Group. How did you guide your company to tell these diverse stories?
Well, I would say that a lot of it was personal experience. This whole movement came about because of my personal experience with colorism. And for those who may not know, colorism is the preferential treatment of lighter skin over darker skin. And many times darker skinned women have certain issues that we have to deal with that are different than what other women have to deal with. And so a lot of it was from my own personal experience. And in my theater piece is Poetic Blues, a sister story. And I was doing brown skin blues. And so many women resonated with brown skin blues that I felt that I needed to take it further and be able to create a vehicle to be able to help women to express the issues that they've dealt with. And it was so interesting because I always tell the story that I was doing brown skin blues, and my sister, who's light skinned, came and told me that light skinned girls have blues too. And I was like, since when? You know, really? But, you know, she did explain to me things that I didn't know. And so that's one of the things that I think is so important with the work that I do, is that it's being able to have conversations, and so that people can come together and understand, because not being a light-skinned woman, the things that I experienced as a darker skinned woman, I wasn't even aware that there were things that lighter skinned women were also dealing with. So the Color of Beautiful Media and Entertainment was really about coming together and being able to have these really important conversations, because I believe that conversations are what move us to healing and what move us to being able to come together and being able to relate to one another in so many different ways, the things that we experience that we're not always cognizant of what other people are experiencing. And so that was really pivotal for me for developing the Color of Beautiful Media and Entertainment, as well as I Am the Color of Beautiful global movement. And we do deal mostly with colorism and the way that it affects darker skinned women. But again, there is also the other side of it, where light skinned women have things that they've had to deal with being light skinned, and with, you know, what people say, the good hair, whatever that is. But, you know, there are so many things that come together in our community, and the way that we have been set up to really be against each other and separated from each other. And it's about coming together and understanding that we all have meaning and purpose, and that we can change the narrative if we really want to. I hope I answered. Here I am. I hope I answered your question.
You most certainly did. So my next question is, you created the theater production Poetic Blues, A Sister Story. And I want to ask, what are the similarities and difference between creating a theater production and then also like a film production?
There are so many differences, but I think what I would say is theater. I love theater because theater to me is very, I think that the African American experience on stage is just such an incredible experience. And I think with producing theater, it can be from the film that I did a documentary film. So I had women come and tell their stories, and we were able to have discussions. With theater, it's a lot of rehearsing, and it's a lot of finding the right people for the right part. And for me, theater producing is, there's so much more to do. Now, mind you, I am new to film, and I'm new to documentaries. And so when I did my documentary film, I gathered people together. I knew what I wanted to do. And so we went ahead and we did it. I feel with theater, there's so many things involved in theater. You know, you've got to find the theater. You've got to find the right people who are going to come and bring to your production, which I'm sure it's the same way if I was doing a different kind of film. You've got to find people to come. I've got to find singers. Nobody had to sing in a documentary, but they have to sing in theater. And it's a certain kind of singing that has to take place with theater. There's a certain kind of dance that has to take place for my productions. So from my experience, one of the main differences is, for me, there was a lot more involved with theater and bringing that theater piece together, and all of the pieces coming together, where you bring forth this amazing theater production, where my film was more just letting people sit down and tell their stories. So that for me was my experience. Now I'm sure that ladies who have been in the film industry a lot more than I have could tell you some other things. But for me, with my one documentary film and producing that film, now, like I said, I did all of the editing and the sound and the filming. I did everything for my documentary film, and that was very challenging, but I did everything. I didn't have to find people to do that, where for me in the theater, it's finding those people that are going to come together and really bring this thing to life on stage. I think that answered your question, right?
Okay. This next question is for Carolyn. You are the founder of productions.com. How has creating more local film jobs benefited your community?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I think a lot of folks who aren't in the industry don't realize that it's really truly a gig economy, and that people are working on sets for days, for hours, for weeks and months at a time. And then once that job is over, you've got to have more jobs lined up. And it can be really challenging to do that while working, unless you have resources, unless you have a deep network, unless you have those relationships. And so it is very rewarding for our team to make sure that local jobs are available, so that the people who live in the cities where the content is being created can be found for work, so that the heads of department, that producers can find the talent that they need if their go-to person is no longer available because they're busy on another project. So for us, it's just really rewarding, number one, making sure that people can find each other, being the Yentl of the industry. And it's also very important for us as well to provide access and opportunity for folks who often don't have it. So it means that women, professionals of color, members of the LGBTQIA plus and disabled communities, veterans have access to work, and it's a platform for everyone. And it also makes sure that we have diversity, inclusion, access, and opportunity, no matter where you live. If you are working in this industry as an experienced professional, you can be found for work. And as an emerging professional, you have an opportunity to find out about the industry and some of the entry points of how to actually get in. And I know we'll get into this a little later. I can tell in the chat, people are really curious. How do I find out about the industry opportunities? How do I network? So just being a resource, both for emerging and experienced talent, is something that's really rewarding. And because we work across the US and Canada and also have opportunities outside the country, it means we get a chance to create work, which is great.
Awesome. And are there any tips that you can give to women and people of color who would like to emerge in the film and television industry?
Sure. There's been some chatter in the chat already. There are seminars, there are workshops that are free of charge. Here in Atlanta, where I am based, Trilith does a variety of workshops at their studio for folks who want to get into the industry. There are PA programs. Universities have writing programs for those who are interested in screenwriting. So I would say do some research online and go to meetups, go to networking events. A lot of times it's about just finding that one person who can give you that informational interview and tell you, what's it like to be a producer? How's it different from a director? What does a gaffer do? What does a grip do? Just being around and available, you'd be surprised by how you can get that first job, which will lead to the next job, simply by showing up and being around others and being willing to learn about something new.
Awesome. I'm going to bring this question back to Beverly. You founded and have been leading the Brown Bag Pictures for more than 15 years. How did you guide your company and to tell and distribute such diverse stories?
I would say, so I started my company basically in film school. And so my thesis film was under my banner and AFI. And, I sort of looked around and said, I'm right here at the font of like these great, talented people, writers, directors. And there I was in the producing program. And I thought to myself, well, you're not really a producer if you don't have projects, you don't have property, you don't have things that you're working on constantly. So, I took it as twofold of going out, how do I get property? How do I talk to people? How do I meet directors who I think are talented and writers who I think are talented? So I started doing that at the films, at film school and then right out of film school. And you know, Carolyn was saying, going to festivals, going to seminars, well, not so much seminars, but festivals and different things like that, where I could meet people who had material that I really liked. I also was a judge, or am a judge with the Page Screenwriting Awards. I do the finalists. So you know, I love reading great stuff. And by the time it gets to the finals, there's usually great material there, and have optioned several things from the Page Awards. So I just made it that point to kind of go out and seek out directors to work with, material that I thought was great characters, great stories, and try to get it. So there was no obstacle. I would option books, you know, even some bigger things that were bestsellers, where I was like, look, I'm just going to call them up. I'll call the publisher and just be passionate about why I wanted to option that book or that IP and get it made. And also I looked around at producers who I admired and thought, what are they doing? How are they doing it? And saw that they had a diversity of genres, a diversity of types of things, whether it was animation, series, episodic, features, and set out to do that. People like, you know, Broderick Johnson at Alcon Entertainment has a diverse slate of things. Deborah Martin Chase has a diverse, even like Brian Grazer, that's like the top of the top. But you look at the movies that he and Ron Howard are making, and they're all over the place, but the connecting thing is that they're all great. And for me, it was having the diversity in front of and behind the camera and telling great stories with great characters. So it's been that constant drive, constant reading, constantly going to festivals, constantly trying to meet filmmakers and writers that I think are talented. So.
Awesome. And this next one is for Jessica. So Jessica, you own the rights to over 20 film properties. What factors do you consider when marketing your films?
Oh, okay. I guess whenever I'm marketing, I'm always thinking about who the audience is, where they're gonna be, where do they hang out, and I kind of just hone in on that and utilize social media. I need to get better at social media, to be honest, but that is definitely a great way to, I guess, market, especially affordably. But yeah, I guess one at a time, even though we're doing one movie at a time, I'm always trying to figure out, I think the most important thing is, who are you marketing to, or who is the audience? Because I think that will give you all of the information as far as where to find those people and how to market to them and how to talk their language and reach them. So the next film will probably be a whole different set of audience. So, you know, I guess I take everything one at a time so that it's, you know, I can be fully in that project. But yeah, some of them cross over, you know, some we've had the same audience for the same film, and then others are completely different. Because the first film we did was a horror thriller. So that's definitely a different market than people who are wanting to know more about trafficking. So, you know, and there is some crossover, but for the most part, I think the most important thing is knowing who I'm talking to.
Amazing. This next question is for Narissa. What skills do people need to be a production manager on a project, and how do you select the projects that you produce, sorry.
Wow. I think in order to be an effective production manager, you have to be insatiably organized. I mean, you have to understand scheduling. You have to understand the budget. Even if you didn't create it, you at least need to understand it. You need to have a Rolodex of people that you believe in that can bring a project to fruition. You have to also believe not only in everyone around you, but yourself, because it's the hardest job on set. I'm sorry. I know people say it's the director and someone says it's the DP and other people, but I believe in my heart of hearts as an actual producer that the production manager has the brunt of everything. You get all the personalities, all the egos, all of the craziness. You get the people who are a part of the production, but then you get the people who are outside of the production. When the fire marshal shows up, they come right to you. When when the police show up, they come right to you. Like you have to be that person that's able to speak and talk to everyone. And you have to put your feelings aside about whatever the matter is and stick to the facts. It is a business-driven position, but it is also a nurture-driven position. And you have to be a person that can kind of ride the waves and know that, hey, we're on a high of a high, but we might get down to a low of a low, and it's up to the production manager to lift the crew and the cast up. I do believe that a production manager is a very essential position on a crew. It's imperative that you have a good production manager because they are able to plop out the pieces that aren't working and replace them with the pieces that should be working. And yeah, it's one of my favorite positions on set because you have to know everything that's going on at all times. I tell my I tell my people when I make a film, I say, listen, I've got my little spies running around, so be careful. And what was the second question? I'm sorry.
You're all good. I love that first response so much. The second question was, how do you select the projects that you promote or produce? Sorry.
No worries. I select projects that actually speak to me because this is a long journey. Making a film is not something that happens within like a couple months, at least not in my world. And so when you become a part of a project, you want to make sure that the project speaks to you so that you can put your heart into it. You want to be able to say to yourself, I gotta get up and go to work today and it's gonna be amazing and I'm gonna have a good time. Or you gotta say, ooh, I gotta go deal with this situation on set today and I'm not really looking forward to it, but it's not about me, it's about the project. I was told a long time, as I said before, I'm a theater baby. The show is the thing. And so I want to work on projects that speak to me, speak to my heart, speak to my soul, things I can be proud to put out into the world so that one day, you know, my mom might go sit out in the audience and watch the film and say, that's my child. And that's what speaks to me. So I love to have projects that speak to the history of our people because we tell some of the best stories. Being Black in America comes with a lot. And our griots told some of the best stories. And if you don't know what a griot is, please look it up because griots are fabulous.
Awesome. So this next question is for you, Tamika. You created and founded Make a Film Foundation. What is the most important element when creating a short film legacy?
I would say the most important element when creating any film is that there's some authentic connection to that you have an authentic connection to it, especially with a legacy film. And yeah, that you're passionate about it and you have a real story to tell, and there's something that's very authentic about the story. Because I think that will translate, you know, if you're passionate about it and it moves you, and then, you know, I feel like it will reach others as well. But again, you know, these legacy films, it's crazy because I look at it from a different perspective. I do, it's like passionate about, I don't really look outside of how everyone else is going to look at it. It's like, is it passionate and interesting and wonderful to you? And is this a story that you have to tell and that you want to share? And then I feel like it's just going to go where it needs to go and do what it needs to do outside of that, you know?
Yeah, it's almost like if it touches me, it'll probably touch others as well.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
So our next question is for Dr. Karen. What relationship do you want to develop with the Black communities or even beyond the Black communities through your work?
I think it's important. A lot of my work is involved in creating safe spaces for people to be able to come and talk about colorism. You have to feel safe when you're talking about hurt and trauma. So most of my work is about creating safe spaces, and so that people can feel comfortable talking about their experiences. Again, because it's really about getting to the healing. And in order to heal, we do have to have conversations, and there's got to be a safe space. A lot of the work, sometimes I do uh, darker skinned women by themselves, because many times they may not feel comfortable talking about their experiences or things when they've been in, when they've had difficult relationship or difficult experiences with lighter skinned women. So a lot of times I will just have a space for just darker skinned women to come and talk about what they've experienced. And then many times we will have spaces where there's a group of integrated women who can come and talk about, who feel safe enough to come and talk about their experiences. I don't do, most of what I do is with darker skinned women, because that's who colorism affects primarily, is darker skinned women. And like I say, it's that safe space, but also being able to understand that we can come together, also dark skinned women and lighter skinned women, Black women and women of color, because colorism is not just in the Black community, it's in all communities of color. It's in the Latin community, it's in the Asian community, and it's in the Indian community, any communities of color where there's the possibility that there are differences in shades. So that's one of the things that has really been crucial for me, is just being able to create those safe spaces. And even when I did the film, letting women know that you're safe to talk about it, and that I want to hear the totality and the authenticity of your story. You don't feel like you have to hide anything, because colorism, some people experience it in their families, some experience it in the workplace, some experience it in other places. So there's just got to be that safe space. And that's what's most important to me in the work that I do.
Awesome. And Carolyn, if someone has a goal to produce their own company, where should they begin?
Oh boy, we don't have time to get to all of that, but what I would say is when people are looking to build a business, you want to make sure, number one, you understand the industry and whatever it is that you're looking to solve, and then find out if people really want that. There's nothing worse than spending time and money to solve a problem, to bring a product to market, only to find out nobody wants it or nobody's willing to pay for it. So similar to what Tamika was saying earlier, have the passion and then also validate that it is something that other people are interested in and have a need for, and talk to people so that you can really understand whether it makes sense for a variety of reasons in terms of cost factors and whether people will be interested in supporting your business. Very simplified, but those are some things that are really important to think about.
Yeah, super helpful. All right, we're gonna do 2 more questions for everyone, just like an all-around question, before we get into some audience Q&A stuff. So what was your favorite project you worked on and why? And Narissa, we'll start with you first.
My favorite project that I worked on and why? Oh God, that's really tough. I love all of the projects that I worked on. I can't choose. I've been in this industry since I was 4 years old, and everything has been a learning lesson every step of the way. I wouldn't want to change my trajectory or what I've been a part of in any way. And so I don't have a favorite. I can't choose a favorite. I mean, I guess if it came from me, for me personally, that may be one of my favorites. I have a docu-series that is a 13-part series on the Chitlin circuit that I've been producing for 13 years and putting together and getting all of the research. And it's not because of the project itself, it's because I've been working on it with my mom. So it's something that I can say one day my mom and I did that, you know?
Yep, yep. Jessica, would you like to answer it next?
Sure. Well, so I would say I learned the most doing my most recent film because it was the first time I saw everything from the beginning to the end. So I was there in the beginning for development, pre-production, all the way to post, learned a lot about music that I didn't know. But I gotta say, I think one of my favorite things, probably, and I didn't say this earlier, but when I was living in Austin, um, Robert Rodriguez's movie, I can't remember if it's called, oh, Grindhouse. I was gonna say Planet Terror, but no, Grindhouse. They came to our town and they held auditions. And so I got hired to be a featured zombie, and they put boils on my face. Like, it took about an hour for them to put this stuff on me, and it looked disgusting. And it's too bad that the picture was on my flip phone, which I no longer have, for various reasons. But unfortunately, that was one of my favorite things because literally everyone was like looking at me going, ew, ew. And they're like, I'm sorry, I know, I don't mean it personally, but ew, this looks gross, because it's like pussy and everything. But I live for that stuff. I love getting dressed up in costumes and transforming. So it was literally so much fun. And it reinforced that I need to go to LA and do this like forever.
That's so great. Beverly, would you like to answer next?
Yeah, just trying to think about this as people are answering. And like Narissa said, I don't know that a favorite. Everything was sort of a learning experience to talk about it from that perspective. Like the early stuff I did, it was, my favorite because that's what I was doing at the time and it was fun and it was how to get as much out of it as possible for that with the resources that you didn't really have. And we were running around Brooklyn, running around Harlem, and it was just all of us young filmmakers trying to make these what ended up being pretty good movies. And so that part of the experience, the camaraderie, and that was made those experiences a favorite. And then later, more recently, having the wisdom of having to be able to having the kind of cast that you can get. So sitting and talking with Danny Glover and like Ellen Burstyn and just being able to interact with them and getting their wisdom of like their experience in the business. So that was a favorite. And I mean, I guess the thing that launched me, something I didn't make, but I was a part of. So if those of you who remember the movie, The Pelican Brief, it was shot at Tulane Law School. So if you go back and watch that, you just have to watch the first 7 minutes. You'll see my pretty little face in the classroom scene with Sam Shepard. So that's a favorite because that was like something that I was fortunate to be in and then got to kind of work on unofficially afterwards and then interact with Sam Shepard. And that's what kind of made me decide to go ahead and really be on the creative side of things. So that holds a special place because of, that. So again, a little bit of everything.
Carolyn, would you like to answer next?
I would. So we were fortunate that Google decided to make a video, a promo video about productions.com, which was cool. But the reason that I enjoyed that, and that's one of my favorite projects, is not because they were talking about our company, but because they brought together this really incredible crew. And they were very intentional about making sure that it was diverse. And it was the first time for everyone that worked on that crew that they'd been around a crew filled with women and folks of color exclusively. And the emotional experience that everybody had just being together for the week that we were shooting some of the content, it was incredible, and great to see it represent the society that we live in. We should see it more often on productions.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Dr. Karen, would you like to go?
Well, since I've only done one film so far, I would have to say, Who Told You You're Black is Not Beautiful? And it's been an amazing experience for me because I've had the opportunity to see women get healed and see women be able to come to grips with their hurt and their trauma. One experience I remember, I was doing an online screening, and one of the women wrote in the chat that during the film, she texted her sister and told her sister, "We have to stop teasing our light-skinned cousin." So that meant that, that meant to me that people are really understanding about the hurt and the trauma of colorism. So I would say that that's the thing that was so important to me. And I'm so glad that it was able to resonate that way.
Yeah, that's really special. And Tamika, I think you were the last person for this question.
Okay, thank you. I will put this in the context of Make a Film Foundation and then me personally. And it's hard to choose with Make a Film Foundation. I want to say the first one because it was the first one, but I'm gonna say it was the last film that we made, which was the Black Yandola. And I will say that because it was the most expansive project that was done in the most limited amount of time because we were sort of creating it against a clock of the kid who was dying. I mean, it all had to be done and within 2 months. It was a really, really ambitious project. Really, the kid was kind of dying before our eyes. We were trying to get it done and get it in post and have him screen it and see it before he passed away. And yeah, and I always say I'll drop names when it comes to Make a Film Foundation, but I don't usually, so we had like a lot of big talent, we had to have 3 directors, Catherine Hardwick, Sam Raimi, and Ted Melfi, who did Hidden Figures, and then everyone said yes. I think that's why. It was like, I was nervous to do it because it was a short time, we didn't have the money and all the things, but as soon as I said yes, it was like, the floodgates of the universe opened up for this project. And my thing with Make a Film Foundation, when people ask, how do you do it? I'm like, honestly, there's no answer to that. I have no idea. But what my response is, with a little bit of money and a whole lot of magic. And that is how Make a Film Foundation happens every single time. And yeah, we had like incredible people on that project. I can't even, and even the composers was like, I didn't even know who these guys were, but they were who the kid wanted, and they said yes. Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. And people were like, "You don't know who that is?" And I was like, "Well, now I do." But yeah, and so we had like an incredible team, and that's oh, and then for myself, it's the one I just did because it's personal. It's personal. It got me back into directing after a very long time. And it's about my family. It's like a core memory that my brother and I had that was something that was traumatic that we really got to sort of, I think of it like my legacy project. So it's like my Make a Film Foundation project for myself. And so that's what Superman doesn't steal. So I'll answer it that way.
That's awesome.
Alrighty, so we have our last question before we open the floor to everyone else to ask. And this is for everyone. What advice would you give young aspiring filmmakers today? And also, if you wanted to add anything, like you heard a question that you wanted to answer, but it wasn't for you specifically. If anything else you wanted to add before we open the floor. And yeah, we're gonna start with Carolyn.
Thanks. I would say there has never before been another you. Believe in yourself, and even if it seems challenging, know that the world is waiting on your stories. Take some of these tips and some of the people that you've met tonight and create those stories so that you can push them out into the world.
Amazing. Next, we will go with Dr. Karen.
I would say to find the story that you really love to tell. I think that's been said a lot tonight, to find the story that you really want to tell and just believe that you can do it. I mean, I'm not a trained filmmaker. I didn't go to school, and there's a lot of things that I still have to learn as I progress to begin to do my next project. But I would say by all means, it's telling a story. So get out there and experiment and tell the story that you want to tell.
Absolutely beautiful. Up next, I would love to hear from Tamika.
So I would say, as a recovering perfectionist, I would say, please avoid the disease of perfectionism. It kills creativity, it kills everything. And sort of in that line of when you're you feel like everything has to be perfect, it's kind of paralyzing sometimes. And also it doesn't allow you to make mistakes, and mistakes is how you learn. So you have to give yourself the grace to make mistakes. And I'm always talking about magic. So my sort of my thing is make mistakes and make magic. Focus on the magic and not on the mistakes.
Very well said. I am also a perfectionist. The next person I want to hear from is Beverly.
Yeah, so when I talk to people, I always try to, or young kids or young filmmakers, is always try to, sounds a little cliche, but I always call it the 3 Ps. And it always seems appropriate, and it's always like be patient, perseverance, and preparation. So, we all see people come up and we think, oh yeah, oh, great that they just won that or they're doing this, but there's really no overnight successes. They've been working at it for years and years and years, probably. And, that old adage holds true, like, luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. So I always say to people, stay prepared. Always be prepared, whether that's having your project, learning some new skill, always stay prepared. Yeah.
Absolutely wonderful. The next person I would love to hear from is Narissa.
I would say that never stop learning, um, or never think yourself too good to learn, because you should be learning until the day they put you in the ground. You should never ever stop, because there's always something that you can get out of a situation, a show, a script, a conversation, a moment, a film, something that you're doing. You should be eager to learn every single day. And when you place yourself in that learning position, you remain humble. And that's the one thing that is so vital in this particular industry, in my opinion, is to constantly make sure that you are humble and that you recognize that it's a privilege to be in this industry. I mean, we're not curing cancer, people. We're not, saving lives. We're not putting people on rocket ships and going into space. We're telling stories and making movies. And what a privilege we have. How beautiful is that? And don't ever forget it.
Absolutely wonderful. And last but most certainly not least, I would love to hear from Miss Jessica.
Literally love everything everyone was saying, and I 100% agree. I would add, make that decision. I think sometimes it seems overwhelming to make a film, but decide that you're going to do it and take it one step at a time, because I think there are a lot of moving parts to filmmaking, and I've seen a lot of people get they kind of just fall apart because of all the work it takes, but one step at a time, and have the faith to keep moving forward in it, because I personally, I've just seen how once I say I'm doing this film, it's amazing how much things start to come and people start to show up and resources. And so, just do it. I think that's very important, to just make that decision and go after it and be unreasonable with it. If you know what you need to do, don't let people's naysaying or, oh, that's too hard, or the negative voices, don't let that stop you from making the film that you desire to make, because there's a reason it's in you, and it's a story that you have to tell, and it's most likely going to reach somebody else. So it's a call and a duty, and go after it.
I love that so much. We are just so honored. And Jessica, I just think that that's such a nice way to, like, it is a call and it is a like, that's for me, my mandate, with Zhive is like, hey, this is a space where we share stories. And this is a space where when we come together, and we have spaces of discovery to make that, like, that honesty, because it's too hard. Any young creators here, like, you cannot do this alone. You cannot do this business alone. So you find anybody here in the chat, like, you make a friend, you hear one of these speakers, you see one of our Zhive creators, you latch on to the people that resonate with you. And then somebody else said it earlier, like, you hold on for dear life to those people. Some of the beautiful women here, I got to meet from a colleague of mine, Ramphis Myrtle. We met 12 years ago from a Facebook post I put. Like, I didn't know anything about film. I'm an actress and I found this great writer. NYC Independent Filmmaker Facebook group. I said, I have a short film I've read, need help. Rampus message, you hold on to people like that for dear life. And now, crazy 12 years later, we're both advisors at South by Southwest. We both launched our company in the same year. And that was a 12-year relationship. So I know Narissa has to leave because we have run over, but the stories were so beautiful and the questions were so rich. I'm staying. Olivia and Ayana are going to hang out. Some of our Zhive people, so I want to be mindful. There's a lot of neat questions I know, but Narissa, can you at least, and the speakers that need to go, like, say any other things or things that you would like to say to everybody? And I'm just going to kind of hang out.
Thank you, Mara. I just want to say thank you to you. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me on this panel with these lovely women. I've reached out to them to establish relationship. I encourage everyone here, reach out to everyone on LinkedIn. Get to know people. Your net worth is your network. Okay, that's how you determine how you're going to break this industry, get into it and get it moving. You got to talk to people. You got to know people. Otherwise, you're not going to succeed. Okay. I'm so sorry I have to run. I wish I could stay, but I'm at a studio and they're kicking me out. So I so appreciate all of you. Have a blessed night. And thank you again, Mara, and your team is phenomenal.
Thank you. Thank you, Narissa. Yes, we do should, Ashley, if you can turn your camera on and wave. I just do want to say thank you to Ashley, who is on our team behind the scenes. She was the lovely human that researched everybody and came up with those questions tonight. And it was so kind and thoughtful. She's getting her master's in screenwriting at CSUN. And so just really thankful that we have such a powerful team. Obviously, Winter is behind the scenes doing, like, all the invites, all the LinkedIn, making sure that everybody who signed up on LinkedIn knew to get to the Luma to do the thing. So we do have a huge team. I know there's a lot of questions. I do want to be respectful. I know you guys, like, just gave an hour and a half. So as you need to go, there are a couple, like, really great kind of provocative questions. One about I think it's more along the lines, like, best practices in a short film, hiring people. I mean, I think that maybe building your team is something that what do you look for when you're trying to hire people for your team? That would be nice to hear from a couple people. And then I'm going to kind of go back. There's a couple others about funding a production company. So I don't know, Jessica and Beverly, do you want to take, like, the hiring team, and then funding production company? We'll get Carolyn and Tamika, and then there's another one for you, Ms. Karen Moore. But yeah, Jessica and Beverly, do you want to take, like, hiring team, assembling that, what you look for, and how to weed out the noise?
Okay, so I'll go first. Yeah, so a lot of it, I mean, it's going to come down to your network, and it's going to come down to talking to people that you've already worked with and getting their recommendations. And that's a big part of it. There's a reason why Clint Eastwood works with the same people, Scorsese works with the same people. So it's just people who have the same vision. So you're looking for people, whatever the specific project is, who have a vision that you also have with how they want the project to go, but also some people who are not afraid to say no, people who are not afraid to kind of give you the hard, tough advice or say, no, that's wrong. Not yes people. So you definitely have to weed that out. Some people think that that's what they want, but you really don't want a yes person. You want someone who's going to challenge you. So I look for people who can do that in a positive way, and also who have a similar sort of aesthetic and vision of what I'm trying to tell. It's not always easy, but the starting point is you've got to reach out to your network and see who people are saying you should work with, and people you trust, and then start building from there.
So helpful. Jessica, like kind of thoughts about hiring, building a team. Mhm.
Yeah, I am definitely, I would say for me, it's been very helpful to ask people questions, to get to know who they are as people as well, just to see what does their work ethic look like? Um, and then I go a lot by when I get maybe referrals. So I will actually ask people, and I've actually had people ask me to give their opinions and feedback about other people to see if they should hire them. And I think that's important to listen to those things, and to share this, like to see what vision that person has compared to your vision, because I think you can get a sense of people and what they're trying to go after by just having a conversation, just a human to human conversation, connecting, but also making sure that you yourself know what's required of those jobs so that you know what kind of questions to ask them and how to qualify them. Because um, I started to learn, oh, I have to know everybody's job so that in case I can know, okay, do they know this stuff? And so I do a lot of research. I think that is always a thing to do, is research and ask people, like just ask for referrals, and yeah.
So good. It's so good. Tamika, may you answer? There's a nice question here, and I have two questions for you. It was from Shamika. Making a short film, what are some mistakes to avoid as a first-time filmmaker on a short?
Okay, so we did answer that. I think a lot of people
Okay.
answered that one in the
Great.
chat. What I'll
Great,
say
great,
is my answer, one of my answers was make sure you get a first AD, vet that person. You need that first AD, vet them and ask for references. It's really important. And then the other one I said was have more than one producer. For a short film, I say 3 is a good number, because typically short films are short on funds, and if you can get 3 producers who can, spread things around, then it's just nothing ends up, it's just not too heavy on one person. And really with a short film, I'm like, it's really not I mean, it's great. The credit is wonderful, but it's not like you need to be the only producer with that credit. I would much rather have 3 or 4 other producers and less work on me so that I can do the other things that I'm doing and give the best of what I can give to that project. So just be cognizant of that, and really, figure out duties. And, I think somebody put in there, it was somebody on this call put a no
I know,
policy.
I saw that.
Right. Yeah.
Which is
I
always
mean,
hard to know in advance. Like you don't know
Right.
in advance. Like it's like, can you come with a calling card? Like, it's
Well,
not
you know what? To that end, I'm going to say, I'm sorry, Beverly, just one last thing. To that end, I'm going to say, do not be afraid to fire someone.
That's it.
You need to not be afraid to fire someone. It's so important. And I've learned that lesson a couple of times. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, just
oh
sort
my
of
goodness.
piggybacking off what Tamika said, though, it's great to have multiple producers or multiple, but you've got to really have a clear understanding of what your strengths are or what you're doing, and really have that clear division about, okay, is this person nuts and bolts? Is this person creative? Is this person doing finance stuff? So that it's clear what everybody's lane is, and people are not stepping on toes, and stuff is actually getting done. So that's the only thing. And that's same thing I would say about, collaborating with people. You want to collaborate with someone or people who bring something to the table that you don't necessarily have. So it requires you to really know yourself, understand where you're maybe sort of lacking a little bit, or where you need more learning, and know that you want to bring somebody to the table that you're learning from, and you're maybe teaching them some things, and you can mesh and really move forward together.
That's so good. That's so good. So good. There was a question about raising money for a production company. Carolyn, do you have any thoughts about I know that's such a large topic. That would be a whole other seminar. I've lots of seminars about raising money. It's one of my favorite topics.
Oh, raising money. Yeah, it's probably too much to get into for now, but once again, it's going to be networking. It's going to be vetting. Believe it or not, you want to make sure the person that you're raising money from has money and is going to deploy the money. But yeah, I would just say focusing on being able to vet the person that is the investor as much as they are vetting you, and realizing that once you decide that you're going to partner with an investor, that it's like a marriage and you're going to be together for a while and you'll reap the benefits and also the challenges. So just be clear about the relationship, and also know that your network, as was said before Narissa left, it really is your net worth. You would be surprised at who you know. And simply letting people know, like you've been doing with Zhive, letting them know when you have events and what it is that you're looking for. You'd be surprised at how far that one message can go to get you to the right person that can not only write a check, but help you get to that next person, or an influencer or specialist who can help you with the content as well.
So beautiful, so beautiful. I know that we're kind of staying late, so I just, again, if you haven't known me, if you haven't sent in a webinar, like, reach out, connect on LinkedIn. We put everything, our socials, our TikTok, for Zhive is so good. Like, go follow it, because this is about Zhive having a voice. We will be posting content from this panel on our TikTok, right? Because we want to have a space for all of these stories. The stories that you saw here tonight, those are the stories that matter to us. Like, we do everything intentionally. This was a very intentional panel. Like, I had a very strong intention about, picking stories, and the whole team at Zhive, we came together like, hey, what do we want to say? And what do we want to bring to our audience? So do be a part of the community. Stay tuned. There will be 2 new events next week where we have another podcast launching about pop culture through a Zhive lens. Olivia is one of those hosts on that. We'll also have a women directors panel. So that's going to be really exciting. But definitely, if you want to have a space, if you want to have community, reach out to us, community@zhivemedia.com. We have a writer's room. We have a feature film writer's room. Like, we have a lot going on, to just be building out. And obviously, if you are done a few films and you're stuck raising more money than you ever thought, you should reach out to me, because new partnerships. But definitely just add my sincere gratitude. This is what community is about too. For any of the young creators, like, when you see people that are willing to give time to share their story, those are the people you want to stay with, right? Those are the people that you want to stay with, because they were willing to share their knowledge and wisdom. So my amazing colleagues, I can't wait to come hug those of you that are in Los Angeles in person. I'm hoping to be there very soon. I will be at South by Southwest. So if anybody's gonna be at South by Southwest, you should definitely hook up. Beverly, you're gonna be at South by?
No, not this year. Someone already asked me that. No, I wish, but no.
Okay. Anyway, I was hoping to have excuses to see people. But thank you, everybody. And obviously, Olivia and Ayana, thank you for stepping up to host tonight. You guys did wonderful.
Thank
And
you
so
all.
just really grateful for that. And Ashley for the questions, Wonder for all the back end, and everybody else here from Zhive. Zhivers, if you want to hop over to Mara Zoom, after this, and we can just say hi to each other, 10 minutes, not a demand. If you would like to just say hi, I'll drop it in Discord. And everybody else, thank you. Take the stories. I think the whole thing, right? Zhive, our tagline is, I have a story. So that's it. We're here because you have a story, and we want to help you tell. So thank you all. Thank you,
Thank you
everybody.
so much.
So
Pleasure.
good. Such good energy.
Thank
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.